What's going on, family? And welcome back to another exciting episode of MicToss. And I hope you have been enjoying these conversations as much as I have. And this week is going to be no different, as I am really excited about this one because not only are we receiving in previous episodes kind of the spiritual wisdom and insight, but this time we are also going to be receiving some spiritual wisdom and some practicality, as the pastor that I have on is an amazing entrepreneur. He is the co-owner of a golfing energy drink called Strokes Gained. And that may sound like something small to you, but in this conversation, you're going to see just how much of a big thing this is and how they have grown it, in addition to still being a successful father, successful husband, and a successful pastor. So please help me welcome this amazing guest that I'm so excited to dive into this week's conversation with, Pastor Ethan. Pastor, how are you,
Come
man?
on, man. I'm so good. Thank you, Khalil. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of MicToss. I'm
Yes, sir.
excited to talk about what I'm learning
Yeah.
and where we've just been going with Strokes Gained and how to balance entrepreneurship and pastoring and
Yeah.
spiritual leadership of your home. It's a lot.
Yes, sir. And to see everything, even from a social media end, that you have been able to do, I think there's so much for us to gain in this conversation. So I definitely just want to jump in. And as I have mentioned, you being a pastor, a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, juggling all of those things while still leading a successful brand, what would you say are, let's just say, three mistakes that you've made that if you could go back, you would kind of rework those to maybe show up better or just have a different outcome?
Absolutely. Only three, you know what I mean? Only three mistakes.
Yeah.
I think when I look back, some of the, you either win or you learn, right? So mistakes are
Yeah.
just great learning opportunities.
Mhm.
Very growth focused mindset. Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, either a fixed or a growth mindset of just like, man, every day I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn so that I can win in the future. And I think
Mm.
some of the things I've learned along the way are it's so important to know that you underestimate what you can do in a day, or you overestimate what you can do in a day, but you underestimate what you can do in a year. And so for us in this business,
Wow.
we've learned that time and time again. I'm actually, as we're recording this, we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary of going public as a company. And we
Let's
kind of
go.
pinch ourselves. We kind of pinch ourselves because it's like, we've only been doing this for a year.
Correct. Correct.
And every day it felt like, man, we're not making traction, we're not making ground because we were overestimating what we could
Yeah.
do one day. But then when you look back a year, some people would say it's crazy what we've been able to
Mm.
accomplish
Yeah.
in a year. I think another thing I've learned is the power of relationships. And there's this tension in life of if you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you want
Yeah.
to go far, you got to go together.
Yes, sir.
And I've learned that both the hard way and the not so hard way with my co-founder Travis. He's one of my
Mhm.
best friends, and
Love
we
that.
say every day we would not have done this without each other. We couldn't have. Where he yins, I yang, and on his
Oh, man.
worst day, I'm on my best day. And there's just something about that power there, and how we've been able to work together.
Yeah.
But it also, where I said that's an area where I've learned the not hard way. The hard way was two entrepreneurial driven leaders having a vision the size of the world,
Yeah.
and then telling our wives, "Hey, guess what we're gonna do?"
Ooh-wee.
And so there's a few, 8 o'clock after the kids go down, the
Mhm.
wife's like, "I can't wait to hang out with my husband," and I'm like, "But I'm gonna work on the business." And she's like, "Are you
Yeah.
sure?" And so learning, okay, there's a lot more to life
Mhm.
than me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And the vision I have can't uh, can't cloud me to the reality I live.
Mm.
And if I want to build a company that I sell for $10 million so that I can spend time with my family, and in order to do that, I don't spend time with my family, was it really worth it?
Man, that's good.
And so how do I balance those things? And so just as much as Travis and I talk about like, okay, what do we need to do today? We almost end every phone call with, and how's your wife?
Yeah, that's
Do-
good.
does she still love you? And does she know you love her? You know, we ask
Yeah.
ourselves those questions. And I think the other thing too is um, it's easy to talk about integrity until you're constantly faced with things in secret.
Ooh-wee.
And we talk about that about sin a lot,
Hmm.
right? Like, man, what
Hmm.
are you watching online and all that stuff?
Yeah.
But it comes different when you're a business leader and a
Oh,
pastor.
all this is good.
And the reality is I work for a church,
Hmm.
and every day I'm faced with, am I going to lock in and be integrous and do the work for the church that I'm asked to do? Or am I going to daydream about a company I want to build?
Wow.
And
Wow.
nobody else can handle that. Nobody else can wrestle that. Nobody else can hold
Oh,
themselves
that's good.
accountable. And so for me, those are the three things that I'm constantly kind of navigating of like, okay, my relationships, uh, my planting a seed today for the future, but then also integrity. Integrity is a real thing, and that's a man. I got to wake up every morning and say, Lord,
Yeah.
remind me that this isn't a, oh well, I can kind of work on this business because no one's gonna know. This is a spiritual game.
Right. Wow. That is that was amazing. Even that thought of integrity from how one spends their time doing what they have committed their
Yeah,
life to, and whether one is working for a church or not, God is still watching. If I'm going to my normal 9 to 5 while still trying to do something else that the Lord has put in my heart, and if I'm not honoring the
yeah,
commitment that I've made to my normal 9 to 5, and I'm using their work hours to work on the other thing, how will God honor? Wow, man,
yeah.
that's so good. We're gonna dive into that a tad bit more, but before we do, please tell me about strokes gained. I am a golfer. I'm
Come on.
taking on that identity as
Yeah,
I
you
was
are.
really, yeah, I was really into golf in high school. I was our team captain, and then after high school, going off to college, and then after college, I just kind of got away from the game. I was living in Chicago for a time, and so moving now and living in Memphis, golf is a big thing here. And so I've picked it up with our associate pastor at the church that I work for,
Awesome.
and we go every Monday, and we're there now with a trainer to sharpen our skills. But golf is something that I'm really interested in, and
Yeah.
so having this conversation, please give me some insight into exactly what strokes gained is.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So, Strokes Gain is a golf supplement company. Our goal is to be the supplement company of golf or the health company of golf. The reality is golf is a sport that demands a lot of the body,
Yeah.
and in order to meet its demands, you need to make sure that you have all the necessities that your body requires. And so in 2023, my co founder Travis was golfing a normal weekly round with one of his buddies, Dr. Tom, who's in his 70s. And Dr. Tom is a stickler to make sure everybody drinks enough water on the course. They live in Alabama, it's hot. And
Oh
so
boy.
he's drinking water every time there's a cooler, he's filling up, he's drinking. And on hole 18, Dr. Tom falls to his knees and gets ready to
Wow.
pass out. He's drinking water all day. Luckily, there's a maintenance worker. They put him on a cart because Dr. Tom's a walker. He thinks carts are for the lesser inclined. And so he's been walking all day. They throw him on the maintenance cart. They get him to an ENT and or ENT, and
Mhm.
they pour salt in his mouth
Wow. Oh my goodness.
because all day he drinking water, but he didn't have any electrolytes.
Mm.
And there's 5 essential electrolytes the body needs outside of water. And every time you step up to the ball, you make the swing, you walk thousands of yards, or even if you're riding, there's very few things in life, especially as you enter into adulthood, that you are doing a physical, demanding situation for over an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours,
Hmm.
4 hours. And so that's when the idea of strokes gained came to life. What if we were be able to create a supplement for hydrating and keeping golfers hydrated on the course? So we sell them in
Yeah.
packs of 20, and you can pour
Nice.
it into a water bottle, shaker bottle. You put it in there, and this little pack has five times the supplements or the electrolytes of an average electrolyte drink that you would think about buying from the store, already in a bottle.
Wow.
It has no dyes, it has no sugar. And so some of our competitors have 20 grams of sugar or more. They have, like, the essential electrolytes are sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride, calcium, all those things. And so for us, all of those combined, sometimes, like, I won't name other brands, but there's brands that have 120 milligrams of electrolytes, and they're leading electrolyte drinks.
Wow.
And we have 700 milligrams of electrolytes in ours. And so at a
Night
recent
and
event
day.
we were at, one of the professional golfers came up and they said, "Hey, I take X product every time I golf. Why are you better?" And I said, "Do you have one?" They pulled it out. We looked at labels, and I said, "Because this is 5 of those.
Man, that's good.
That's why we're better." So that's what we are. And our dream would be to resource every golfer, every golf course in America, and become the go-to supplement brand that one day, when a golfer goes, "What protein should I buy?" They buy Strokes Gain. "What creatine should I buy?" They buy Strokes Gain. What supplement do I need
Oh,
while I'm
that's
a
good.
golfer? I have Strokes Gain. And Strokes Gain, the name, is the stat for golfers. So just like
Hmm.
in MLB, if somebody were to get up to the plate, the TV would pop up batting average and a number.
Gotcha.
When the golfers who are on the tour are golfing on TV, they pop up. It says their name and it says strokes gained and a number,
Oh,
because
that's
that's the
good.
stat that
That's
they're
really dope.
looking at for professionals. And so, if that's what they're measuring, we want to make sure that their health is measuring that as well.
Man, that is so good. Very intentional with everything. And I mean, Pastor, you mentioned that Strokes Gain has been in operation for a year. A beautiful product. Not only do you have the product, have you been in operation for a year, you've also land multiple partnerships. One, namely, the PGA Tour magazine, which is huge
Yeah.
in the golf world. However, it didn't start that way. It started with a concept, with an idea, with a mission that the story that you just took, it started there.
Yeah.
So, how did you move? Maybe what were the first 2 to 3 things that you did to move from concept to year later, product in hand, and multiple partnerships?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first thing I did, right, was I called Travis, our partner, and he was with Dr. Tom, and I didn't know. And I called him
Got it.
and I said, "I got an idea." And he said, "It's crazy because Dr. Tom just passed out this week." And I said, "It's crazy because somebody at my church, the same thing happened." So both of us experienced the same
Wow.
thing at the same time. And so the first thing I did was call Travis, and we made the decision from the very beginning that we would run the business relationally. The first thing we did was call each other. And the second thing we did was reach out to relationships, because life moves at the speed of relationships. And so
Oh, that's
Travis
good.
just happens to be male model status, CrossFit athlete. And so he started reaching out to the fitness community saying, "I'm thinking about starting a supplement company." Well, lo and
That's
behold,
good.
3 phone calls later, he's on the phone with somebody who sold a supplement company for $20 million.
Wow.
And relationally, somebody we didn't know connected us with somebody, or somebody we did know connected us with somebody we didn't. And then boom, we're able to ask 3, 4, 5 questions to help us continue. What do we need to do first? What do we need to do second? And thankfully, the relationships around us helped chart the path to where we are today. And I think the first lie that creeped in my mind was like, man, I have to gatekeep this. Like, I don't want anybody to know, because what if they take my idea?
Yeah, yeah.
And man, I just think if we would have just kept it to us two and no more, we probably wouldn't be here today,
Mm.
because we literally wouldn't have a product if there wasn't outside people who were giving us input in order to get us where we need to go.
Hey, I just wanted to stop and tell you thank you so much for tuning in to MicToss. I hope you are enjoying this conversation and the content as much as I am. But did you know that the majority of people that watch these podcast episodes are not subscribed? So can you do me a huge favor and go and hit subscribe to be sure that you are fully bought into the MicToss fam, and turn on that notification bell so every time MicToss has an episode, you are aware of it. This would help us so much to just ensure that MicToss becomes everything that it's supposed to be and reaches every audience it's supposed to. Thank you so much for your love and your support and making sure that MicToss can reach its full potential. Let's get back. I think a real aspect of many people who either have a brand or who have a product or something that they're trying to push, it is always that barrier of finances and money, because of course you need money to make those things happen. Could you share a tad bit of what that process kind of financially looked like? Was it a bootstraps for pulling out of our savings to really make the dream happen? Was it the relationships that you used that also helped? How did financially this come about to make the dream happen?
It's a great question, and honestly, something that we hear from people all the time. So I'm so glad you asked.
Mhm.
Our story is unique, right? We knew two things. We knew we wanted to keep all the equity
Of
because
course.
we were not giving that away, and
Yeah.
so we didn't want to take any outside investors, even though we had
Mm.
plenty of people who said, "Man,
Wow.
I'll throw money in that." Um,
Mm.
but we wanted to keep equity, so that means we had to figure out where we're going to get the cash.
Right.
So then you got to decide: does it come out of my account,
Hmm.
or am I taking out loans to do this?
Yeah.
Luckily, as I mentioned earlier about Travis, um, so many areas of life we complement each other, and this is one of them. Travis is like a Dave Ramsey, can't even spell credit card, debt is bad, and I'm like, man, I'm thinking about taking a loan out of my IRA
Yeah. Yeah.
so that I can lend it to somebody and get more interest than I
Hmm.
owe to my IRA. Like literally, I was on the phone recently with my IRA company, and they were like, "Yeah, if you take 15 grand out of your
Yeah.
IRA, you can take it for 5 years,
Hmm.
8% loan, and all the percentage goes back into your IRA." And I'm like, "Wait, so you're gonna give me 15 grand
Right.
on 8%, but I get the 8%. I can go loan it out for 25%." And so like these are real things. So, anyways, we complement each other. That's my entrepreneurial brain right there. Um, and so we decided to bootstrap it.
Got
And
it.
um, because of the way we were crunching numbers and everything, we bootstrapped more than we wanted to, and we
Got it.
sacrificed and we pulled. But now that we've been doing it and the relationships we formed, I know there are ways that we could have done it without
Mm.
having to sacrifice the way we did. And so,
Got it.
one of the communities we're a part of, building physical goods brands like we are. Man, I wish I would have known that these things then, but now I do. Is like so
Right.
many people, they come up with the idea, they build an audience, and then they pre-launch and they say, "Hey, we're going to launch this product in 6 months. Buy it now." And so they get money and then they go order the product. Well, we did the exact
Nice.
opposite. We had an idea. We took all of our money, we ordered it, and
And
then
you
we
ordered.
told the world about it.
Yeah.
And so we did it backwards. If I could go back, I
Oh
would
man.
totally told the world,
Hmm.
"Hey, let this is what we're doing. First 300 people who order it, we're going to give you a sizable discount. Take that money,
Right.
then go purchase the product." So you live and you learn.
That's really good. And I mean, that's so much game, as I think that is an easy way for people to knock down the barriers and to knock down the thoughts of as why they cannot allow the vision that the Lord has put in their heart to come out. That is a
Right.
great strategy on how you can kind of get started when you have the other things in place and the vision is coming from a pure place. I think that's a beautiful way to get started. Now, uh, one of the things that you talked about a nice amount of is relationships. And I think it is really something to lift up with the understanding that relationships really help things grow faster than they would if it was just one person. And
Absolutely.
on the topic of relationships, we talked about some of the partnerships and the brand deals that Strokes Gain has been able to land only within a year's time. Um, how were you able to land those things? Was it solely the relationships that opened the door to get you in front of said people to give the pitch? How were you able, really within the first year, to land such great deals to really help the brand grow to where you would want it to?
It's a great question. Um, we started by going to people. So we would go to the golf courses in our area and build the relationship. And we knew early on the phrase we would say is the clubhouse is king. Like without a golf course, there is no golf.
This is true.
And so who's the king? It's the
Mm,
clubhouse. It's the person who runs the golf course.
right,
And so we said our target, the person we're trying to serve, which you have to decide in business,
right.
isn't the golfer.
Wow,
It's the clubhouse.
that's
And
good.
so when we launched last May, we we weren't worried about if anybody knew who we were online because we were worried about clubhouses. So we were going to clubhouses saying, this is who we are. We want to serve you. We want to help you and your members, your guests, your golfers. And then as we slowly acquired clubhouses in the areas we lived, right?
That's
I live
good.
in Florida. Travis lives in Alabama. Those were the first clubhouses. First 30 clubhouses were because we went to them in person. We
Gotcha.
said, okay, now we're going to serve them, right? Like everything you've heard of in business, unreasonable hospitality, Chick-fil-A, like we're going to serve them. So then that was May. January comes around. We pay to be at the largest golf convention in the country every year, the PGA show.
Hmm.
And one of the golfers or one of the pros that served at a clubhouse in Alabama said, hey, I'm having dinner tonight with the president of PGA Magazine. I'm going to try to introduce you to him
Wow.
because we do everything relationally. And
Hmm.
so he's like, hey, I'm going to do it. Can't guarantee you anything, like, because PGA Magazine, they're partnering with Adidas, like all
Exactly.
the big brands, right? And so the next day, president of PGA Magazine walks up, is like, hey, had dinner with Brad last night. He told me to come stop by and talk to you. And luckily, uh, Travis and I are both pastors. And so we
Nice.
we have a little bit of relationship skills.
Hmm.
And so we just lean in, man, and all of a sudden divine flow hits and God
Wow.
blesses it. And just there's things that only can intertwine because of the way God works. And
Yeah.
so he reached out and he was like, man, I want to give you all a chance. And man, they took a chance on us. They didn't have to. They're
Yeah.
losing in this deal for sure. But because of relationship, they took a chance on us and they were able to open the right doors. And golf, we've learned more than anything, is a relationship sport. And so we've been blessed by that.
Wow. There are two things from that conversation that I think will really help us that, again, have a goal, a desire, a product, a business, or entrepreneurs. There are two things in what you said that will help us. It is having those relationship skills and then the divine connection that the Lord makes. It almost just reminds me of there's a level of faith that, of course, I must have. There's a level of
Yeah.
the God said, and I'm going after what the Lord has said. But then there's also a level of work that I have to do in efforts to see the thing that the Lord has put in my
Yeah.
heart to do. I think one hyper practical conversation that you and I can have that will really pass the mic to those who are watching is what would you say to someone as to how they grow in their ability to build authentic relationships? I think social media in some ways has just jacked us all up
Yeah.
where if it's not a DM, if it's not a comment, if it is not a post, then it's like we may lose our ability to be relational and just to get to know people and to have good conversation.
It's
What
great.
would you say to someone as to how they should grow in their ability to build authentic relationships?
Yeah, that's a great question. I got to quote my senior pastor, Pastor
Mhm.
Julie Mullins. She has my favorite quote. She says, there are no big things in life.
Mm.
Big things are just a lot of little things in disguise.
Wow.
And I think sometimes when you have a big mountain in front of you, like, how do I grow in being relational, like great relationships?
Hmm.
It can feel big,
Right.
but there are no big things in life. They're just little things in disguise.
Yeah.
And man, the little things in relationships make the biggest difference. Remembering somebody's name, listening when they speak, following up on what you said you were going to follow up on. Two things I do on Sundays or on Saturdays prior to Sundays. I have a list of thousands of names of people that I meet on Sunday morning. And so
Wow.
every Sunday, if I meet you, your name and something to remember you. Let me see if I can find it. Pops up,
Hmm.
uh, and I write it down, and it's
Wow.
those are just names of anybody I've ever met on a Sunday. And so Saturday,
My goodness.
I study your names so that when you walk in again, I'm not, hey brother. I'm gonna say, hey Darren, man, how are you
Yeah.
doing? It's so good to see
Oh
you.
man.
Because little things are big things,
Right.
and 5 out of every 10 people will go, you remember my name?
Exactly.
Yeah, I do. The other thing I do is I study my calendar. And so this week, I was looking at my calendar, and one of the events that's on there is that one of the couples in our church was going to celebrate their 30th anniversary on today. And when I saw them on Sunday, I said, guys, 30 years of marriage Tuesday. How
Mm.
amazing is that? Because little things are big
Wow.
things.
Yes, sir.
There's a 16-year-old girl walked in on Sunday. I said, happy birthday week. She said, did my mom tell you it was my birthday? I said, no. Her mom was next to her. She said, he just cares for his flock.
Wow.
And these are things that require no skill. It just requires intentionality and stepping out of your comfort zone. Um, I would say the easiest practical advice I can give to somebody
Yeah.
is you got to make this first step. I've in 15 years of being a pastor and just being an outgoing leader, I have only had two people that I've stepped in front of and reached out my hand to introduce myself
Hmm.
avoid me
Wow.
out of
15 years.
50,000. And I think one dude he must have had to go to the bathroom because it was like, there's no way I'm talking to you. But if you position yourself, if you lock eyes with somebody and just say, hey, what's your name?
Yeah.
My name's Ethan. All of a sudden the door is going to get open and you don't have to feel any pressure other than to be curious. Oh my goodness,
Right.
wherever you are, if you're in church, if you're in Publix, if you're whatever, how long have you been coming to this church, or how long have you lived in Florida, or how long have you and your kids been coming to this park? All of a sudden, you're getting creative, and they're going to give you information. They're going to say, "Oh man, we've come here for 20 years." 20 years? That's
Right.
amazing. Or, oh, we just moved here. You just moved here? Where did you move here from? And in 60 seconds, you can gain enough information about somebody to really care for them.
Right.
And it's how to win
Mhm.
friends and influence people. I'm always looking for the 1% we have in common that I can devote the 99% to. And
Oh,
so a
that's
lot of
good.
people, like my favorite one to talk about is I'll meet somebody who's like, oh, I moved here from Chicago. And I'm like, hold on, Chicago, like,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
because Naperville, Illinois, in my opinion, is the greatest city in America. And so
Love
I'm
it.
like, you know where Naperville? They're like, oh, you live in Naperville? All of a
Right.
sudden, I'm able to devote all my attention to
Yeah.
them. And now I'm not a stranger they met. We're friends because we have something in common. And those few practical things, they go a long way.
Yes, sir. Wow, that's really good. I think one of the things that almost encouraged me, not saying that you learned these relationship skills solely because you've been a pastor for the last 15 years, but it is clear that those relationship skills were sharpened in God's house. And
Yep.
I think when people think of the thought of entrepreneurship and business or anything outside of the church, they feel as if all of the tools that they need have to be learned in school, have to be learned by someone outside of God's
Right.
the church. but God's house teaches us, it sharpens us so that we can take the things that we've learned in his house and apply it on whatever mountain he
It's
has
great.
assigned us to. And something as small as getting to know people is something that all of us have the opportunity to do every single week that we are in God's house. We have an opportunity to just get to know people, to build authentic relationships. And
It's
that
great.
is an easy tool to transfer over to, clearly, as you are saying, has been the secret sauce to your success. Now, aside from that, and building those relationships, let's talk about that spiritual side. Not only were relationships the secret sauce, it was faith in God and what he had put in your spirit to do,
Yeah.
and the divine connections that he's made, the favor that has been given. How do you battle the pressures of only seeking the profits when you know that this is something that the Lord has also given you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think this can't apply for everybody, but it can apply for anybody who's in the ministry. Is the longer you're in ministry, the more you hang out with only people who are Christians.
Mm.
And so Travis and I's uh, favorite part about what we do is we've never hung out with more people who will never darken the door of a church than we do now.
Wow.
From people we serve through golf
Yeah.
to contractors we hire for ads and things like that. Man, I hear more cuss words, more craziness, more than everything. Like, man, we were on a call with one of the leading ad generators in the world, and he started talking about his daddy issues.
Got it.
And I was like, yeah, let's talk about it, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like for me, it's not separate.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
that's
here's the
good.
thing: prophet or not prophet, it's what David prayed when he uh, called the people of Israel to give to the building of the first temple. He said, God, who am I and who are my people
That's good.
that we could give, that we get to give what has already been given to us by you? And so if I have profit, it comes from him. And if I don't have profit, it was going to come from him anyways. And so I'm not a owner, I'm a steward.
Yeah.
And this life is my stewardship. And so if it's a $10 million sale in a few years that we're believing for, that's great. And I'm going to get to steward that. And if it's not, he's putting something in my path right now that he's asking me to steward instead. And so it's not profit or not profit, it's stewardship now.
Wow, man, that's really good. Two final questions, because we can keep talking about this all day. I love conversations of entrepreneurship and finding God in those. When thinking about a product, a brand, I think some people want to launch into entrepreneurship for some of the wrong reasons. I wouldn't say that the best reason solely to launch into entrepreneurship is, again, just for the profits, but it is to give. And so that the Lord can allow you to be a light that is set on top of a hill so
Right.
he can be glorified. But in that, sometimes people they battle with understanding if the thing that I'm trying to do is God ordained. Is this God led? Is God on this thing? What would you say to those people who are vacillating between, man, I have this really good thought, but is this God or is this just me and my flesh? How can I wade through that to make sure that it is something that I can be profitable in and also something that God can be proud of?
It's a great question. Um, I think it's just using the lens of wisdom, and wisdom comes from scripture,
Yes, sir.
from mentors, and from accountability. And I'm just a stickler that any decision made by yourself's probably the wrong decision.
Mm,
and
got
and
it.
and I mean, even my wife and I, strokes gains something we do, but it's not everything we do. And so there was another venture I was getting ready to step into this year, and okay, scripture doesn't say I shouldn't, doesn't say I can't. Go to my wife, hey, I'm thinking about this. Let's process it. Let's pray.
Yeah.
And it was a press pause.
Mm.
And man, that was humbling. But I listened to wisdom.
Wow.
And so I didn't, but it's a press pause right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then accountability. So I can go to God, then I go to mentors, family, your wife, your husband, your pastors. Hey, is this a green, yellow, red?
Yeah.
And then if it's green, all right, who's going to keep me accountable in this? That makes sure this stays in the right order here,
Right. Right.
because there's still an order to this life. There's still an order to
Exactly.
my responsibilities of God and my
Right.
family and the church. And just because I want something doesn't change the order. It has to change something else though. And that means, man, I watch a whole lot less Netflix than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I get up a whole lot earlier than I used to. I go to sleep a whole lot,
Yeah.
but that didn't change the order.
Wow, that's really good. It is that type of wisdom and that type of game that I feel like this platform is really housing. And so it is my hope that those of you that have been watching, you see, I think for the last couple of episodes, I've just been pulling out my phone to take some notes. And I hope you've been taking some notes, because Pastor Ethan is giving just so many gems, not only about entrepreneurship and the practicality of that, but how to ensure those things are properly aligned with God. Pastor, I ask every person who comes on this podcast the same question. What is one thing you wish someone had told you when you were sitting in our seats and just starting out? Sitting in our seats, I think there are many of us on this platform that have a call from God, but there are also having, in addition to the call, a burden for business, or they're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, or there's multiple things that they're doing in addition to following the call of God in the church. What would you say, thinking from that lens, that's something that you wish someone had told you when you were sitting in our seats and just starting?
That's a great question. And thank you for having me on, MicToss. I think it's hard for me to pick anything other. I hear it in my head over and over again. John Maxwell just saying, "You pay now, or you pay later, and the
Mm,
longer you wait, the more you pay."
wow.
And whoever's watching, whoever's listening, there is a timeline to life. The window of opportunity is only open for so long. And when this happened, when this idea came, it was like, man, what's the worst case scenario here?
Yeah.
That I give it my all and that I learn a great deal.
Mhm.
Like, worst case is that I learn a whole lot in the
Yeah.
process, and it's going to make me a better leader, a better pastor, a
Yeah.
better husband, a better follower of Christ. Um, but it does come with a cost.
Right.
And every day you are paying for something.
Mm.
And it would be a good exercise to write down, what did I pay for today?
Yeah.
I'm reading a book right now, probably one of my favorite books I've ever read, called 10x is Easier Than 2x by Dan Sullivan. It's kind of like a compilation of all of his books. And I can't remember if it was Warren Buffett or whatever, but he quoted somebody in the book, and he said, uh, the richest people in the world and the least rich people in the world, there's one equalizer. And man, when he said this, I was like, wow. He said, for both of them, there's still only 60 minutes in an hour.
Wow. Oh man.
And that, if I could leave you with anything, is like, everyone around you has the same 60 minutes. And what are
Yeah.
you going to use that to pay for?
Man, that, first of all, I'm going to keep thinking about that for a minute. That's really good. What am I using my 60 to pay for? I took that note down. That exercise of, at the end of my day, what have I used my 60 to pay for? This has been so good, Pastor Ethan. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for just pouring in to us to really help us become everything that the Lord has called for us to, in and outside of the church. Please go follow Pastor Ethan on Instagram. Of course, he is the pastor of Christ Fellowship in Jupiter, Florida. You can find him there as well. And I'm going to post a link of where you can get you some strokes gained for all of my golfers. I'm going to post that link in the description box. So be sure to go and support, because now you know the story, you know the history of everything that has made this brand successful. So until next time, please don't forget to like, comment, and share, as we'd love to see and hear what you have enjoyed about this episode. We'll see you next week. Peace.